I'm a true son of the Yellow River. My family's made our living on these waters for generations, fishing, ferrying, weaving nets, and pulling drowning souls from the current. Back in Emperor Kengshi's reign, when they authorized provisions and recruited soldiers to tame the river, my ancestors were first in line. Been tied to these muddy waters ever since. Grew up on the banks myself, later joined the Yellow River Commission. Seen my share of strange things along these shores, but nothing haunts me like what happened at the old commission headquarters after the relocation. This was 1954, when Henan's capital shifted from Kaifeng to Jiangzhou. The commission moved with it. Don't let the fancy offices today fool you. That whole area back then was nothing but overgrown graveyards and ancient locust trees with trunks so thick it took 2 men to wrap their arms around one. Yeah, the commission sits in prime real estate now, but when we first moved in, just crumbling tombstones and those gnarled old trees casting shadows like skeleton fingers. Place had death baked into the soil, I tell you. Those ancient locusts blotted out the sky like living umbrellas. Even in midsummer, walking beneath their twisted branches gave you bone-chilling goosebumps. Folks claimed the trees attracted spirits, their skeletal limbs always crowded with crows that'd erupt into blood-curdling shrieks after midnight, like vengeful ghosts wailing for justice. Some swore the trees had become earthbound deities. You'd see red cloth strips tied around the thickest trunks, baby shoes or tiny shirts dangling from the bark. Parents left offerings to call lost children's souls home. Old-timers would mutter darkly about the grove's history. Turned out later we were standing on Shang Dynasty ruins over 3,000 years old. When workers dug foundations for the new park in '58, they struck a massive clay jar brimming with copper coins. Sold the whole stash to some foreign tourists pocketing fat stacks. Then in '61, the state declared those same trees national treasures. But the real creep factor came from the sinkhole near commission headquarters. No one knew how the pit formed. Some swore it was a meteor crater. For 50 meters around, nothing grew in that brick-red soil that looked fire-blasted. At its center lay a bottomless pond fed by an icy spring. The water bubbled up painfully cold. You'd feel phantom chills stabbing your legs from 20 paces out. Locals called it Ghost's Breath Well. Even stray dogs gave it wide berth. Word around the commission compound was that those damned locust trees in the sinkhole had poisoned the local Feng shui. The death toll didn't lie. We lost someone every year during those early days. First month after relocation, a clerk went out for a midnight piss and wound up drowned in the sinkhole's black pool. When they fished him out at dawn, his body had swollen like overfed cattle. Then, we lost a heavy-set department head from Manchuria. Man couldn't stand the summer heat. Thought he'd be clever sleeping under those cooling locust trees. Found him stone cold at sunrise. Literally. People started calling them accidents until the 3rd corpse turned up. Then, 4th. Car wrecks. Sudden strokes. All died violently. The whispers grew teeth. Old-timers muttered about disturbing some underground deity's resting place. You don't break ground where God slumbers. Night watchmen swore they heard weeping women in the sinkhole. One laborer claimed he'd peered into the pit and seen a blood-smeared face staring back. This was '58. Superstition meant re-education. But when phantom mischief starts claiming lives, even party cadres get pragmatic. They pulled strings to smuggle in some disgraced feng shui master from a southern labor camp. The old man, having gorged himself on Yellow River carp, assumed a ritualistic gait while chanting incantations. He calibrated directions with a brass compass, scattered cinnabar into the sinkhole, and measured celestial alignments before stroking his beard to pronounce, "This place neighbors the Yellow River's maw, infected with river malevolence. Only a Shandong-born individual anchoring this site can suppress the aquatic demons. His voice carried the weight of arcane knowledge as he expounded. All dragon veins beneath heaven originate from Kunlun Mountains, yet pledge fealty to Mount Tai. Thus, Shandong's soil breeds heroes and outlaws alike, its vital essence potent. Station one of its sons here, paired with a true Mount Tai stone, and no malignant entity would dare trespass. Compelled by his conviction, we mobilized 20 truckloads of quicklime to fill the gaping sinkhole. As chemical heat dissipated, we layered 2 meters of Yellow River silt, planting peach saplings in the fertile mud. Beneath their nascent branches rose a concrete pool where twin golden-scaled carp swam, their fins shimmering like molten metal. True to his word, the commission transferred a leader from Shandong province. The bureaucrat made a show of hauling in a sacred Tai Mountain stone from the southern slope, its weathered surface etched with 5 elemental characters aligned with cosmic forces. They positioned the boulder facing the basin, its carved side glaring toward the Yellow River's ancient course. This stone's weight pins the river demons, high mountain crushes locusts, the old mystic claimed. His makeshift feng shui arsenal, living trees, sacred stone, flowing water, and spirit fish, supposedly created a dragon's den where malignant winds get trapped. The stone was positioned before the fish pond, its 5 elemental characters aligned directly with the ancient Yellow River course. Anchored with the monumental weight of Mount Tai, it pressed down upon the ancient waterway like an immutable seal. According to the old man's explanation, this formed a geomantic configuration, trees and stones gathering vital energy, water and fish channeling auspicious currents. Twin carps parted emerald waters to pave the way, their shimmering scales diffusing baleful influences. Should this arrangement withstand the critical 7-day period of raging malignant energies, harmony would prevail thereafter. For several days we lived in nervous anticipation, but gradually the geomantic arrangement proved its efficacy. The woman's spectral wails ceased entirely, mysterious deaths halted, and even the bone-chilling cold beneath the ancient scholar tree dissipated. The pair of crimson carp glided through the pond's depths, their scarlet fins trailing like liquid flame through jade-green waters, embodying tranquility itself. Just as we began to believe the crisis had passed, an occurrence more bizarre than any previous manifestation shattered our fragile peace. It happened during the depth of a tempestuous night, when torrential rains hammered the earth like celestial nails, and the Yellow River roared with primordial fury. The duty supervisor, noticing our female colleague, a Mongol ethnic minority comrade, appeared unsettled by the storm, summoned several younger staff members to keep her company. Through office windows, we watched rain droplets, the size of corn kernels, form cascading columns as thick as fingers, the downpour so dense it swallowed the beams of our floodlights. Such unseasonably torrential rainfall in autumn stirred fears of Yellow River breaches. None dared sleep. Our Mongol colleague moved with prairie-born serenity, brewing a cauldron of traditional brick tea, fist-sized tea chunks boiled in water until the liquid turned mahogany, then ladled into bowls with fresh milk. The earthy aroma steadied our nerves as we kept vigil through the elemental chaos. At dawn, we awoke to knee-deep floodwaters. Our inspection of the Yellow River's course confirmed the worst, another death. This time, a woman's corpse floated face down in newly formed rapids. By those turbulent years, we'd witnessed countless deaths, drownings, hangings, vehicular collisions, poisonings, yet nothing prepared us for this macabre scene. The victim had thrown herself precisely into the sinkhole we'd sealed with quicklime and concrete. Whether torrential rains eroded the barriers or human hands sabotaged our efforts, the sealed pit now gaped like an open wound. Rainwater churned through the rupture, forming a sinuous river where aquatic weeds undulated like drowned hair. Most chilling was the vegetation clinging to the corpse, not common river plants, but strands of crimson algae eerily resembling the scaled patterns of our vanished golden carp. Drawing closer, we realized the aquatic weeds were actually strands of disheveled hair. Panic erupted. Police attempted to hook the corpse with long poles but failed, eventually offering a 5 yuan reward to a passing beggar for retrieving the body. When the woman surfaced, we gasped in unison. She wore a vibrant crimson robe resembling traditional opera costumes, her head shrouded by a scarlet cloth sack. Lashed to her torso was an enormous stone tablet, the very same sacred Mount Tai stone the Shandong official had ceremoniously transported from his homeland. Years later, when we tallied the timeline on trembling fingers, the interval between sealing the sinkhole with quicklime and the woman's gruesome death spanned exactly 7 days. The old geomancer's warning echoed bitterly. The Mount Tai stone had failed to withstand the 7th day's malevolent onslaught. Alas, the sinkhole's curse continued plaguing us until one sweltering summer. A one-eyed lama pilgrimaging to Yanghe Temple collapsed beneath the ancient scholar tree, parched and starving. I carried him to the Yellow River Commission offices, where we fed him rice porridge and flatbread. After resting, the lama struggled to his feet and shuffled toward the cursed pit. Removing prayer beads from his weathered neck, he tossed the entire strand into the gaping maw. As the sandalwood beads sank into darkness, he pressed his forehead against each of our brows in silent blessing before vanishing into the dust-hazed horizon, dragging his exhausted frame toward unseen pilgrimage sites. Miraculously, from that day onward, the sinkhole's cold springs ceased bubbling. We eventually filled the cursed pit with construction debris. Decades later, during a Tibet pilgrimage, I encountered elderly lamas at Drepung Monastery's gates. Their benevolent blessings washed over me as I returned gestures of respect. When I recounted the one-eyed lama's story to a wizened monk, he revealed the gravity of that act. The prayer beads cast into the abyss were kapala beads, sacred Buddhist relics crafted from the cranial bones of enlightened masters. Such artifacts, especially those from lifelong practitioners, possess power to subdue all maleficent forces. By karmic design, I crossed paths with that same lama again in Tibet years later. Now silver-haired but still wearing that singular eye gleaming like polished obsidian, he merely pressed a weathered hand over my heart during our silent reunion. This unspoken bond compels my annual pilgrimage to the plateau, seeking neither answers nor miracles, simply bearing witness to the enduring dance between compassion and the darkness it keeps at bay.